In this presentation, we will take a look at options for entering our adjusting entries from our worksheet into the QuickBooks file. Once we've completed our worksheet, our next question is, do we want to enter this information into the QuickBooks file, and how are we going to do that? First option is, for more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. Of course, that we could say, no, we don't enter the information into the QuickBooks file. And if we do not enter the information into the QuickBooks file, then in the following year, we might have to make an adjustment such as to reconcile the retained earnings in order to move forward with our tax preparation in the next year. It depends how complex the tax return is that we're doing, whether we need the balance sheet and income statement or not. Or we can have the client manually input the system, assuming that our information is separate from the client. Remember, we may have a backup file from the client, like a QuickBooks file, but it might just be a backup file. And if that's the case, then we have to decide if we can't just enter the information into the backup file unless it's, say, an accountant's version backup file or something like that, where we can then restore it to the client file without overwriting data. In other words, our big question is how, if the client is separate from us, if we don't have access directly to their books, can we get the journal entries into their system if we choose to do so? We could give them the journal entries so that they can manually input it into the system, or we can get some kind of accounting backup file that they give to us. We enter the data, give it back to them, and it should be able to restore without having an overlap of the time period in between, where they would lose data. If they give us the backup file, in other words, and we make adjustments to it, when we give it back to them, if they had made any adjustments in the interim time period, then those adjustments will be lost if they restore our backup file. And so that's what we got to be careful of, at least with the desktop version, if we don't have direct access to their QuickBooks file. The other item, if we do have direct access to the QuickBooks file, either in an online version or direct access to it, or we go to the client and go to their office or remotely and enter the information directly into their system. That would, of course, be another way we could do this. We could take our journal entries, go to the client, or remotely access the QuickBooks file and enter the data directly into their QuickBooks system and not have to deal with the backup issues. If we choose to enter the data into the system, then we have to decide which journal entries do we want to enter. I mean, if we look at our trial balance, we have an adjusted trial balance and we have a tax trial balance. If we have both an adjusted trial balance, a book trial balance, in other words, and a tax trial balance, then we're typically tracking two sets of books. And we would typically want to then adjust to the adjusted trial balance and get the end numbers to the adjusted trial balance so that we can then make the adjustments from there to get to the tax, rather than entering all of our adjustments to get to the tax trial balance, because then it'd be more difficult to get back to the books. Now, there might be some clients that you have that's basically just on a tax basis, and if the client is only on a tax basis, then you may not have these two columns. You might just have a tax basis tax client, and this would just be, the second column would just be the tax trial balance. You do whatever you do to get the tax to be correct, and that would be it, right? That would be your adjustments that you have, and you can adjust to there. But in a worksheet like this, we have books and taxes, and therefore are basically adjusting to the adjusted trial balance. What that means then is that when we enter our entries, we're looking to enter all the ones with an A and not the ones with the T, because that's our tax entries. We need to make that clear when we enter this data into the system and when we provide this information to the client. If we have the client enter this information, we have to make it clear that they're not going to be entering these items, and we may even want to adjust this worksheet, copying it possibly. We could copy it over, and at the least we could take these and just, make them, black them out maybe, like that, or we could take them out in some way and then scroll down and we can remove these and say we don't want to pick up the tax trial balance. Was that a tax? That was not a tax trial. Undid that. And the red ones are still popping up, but something like this type of transaction. And then if we don't want to give this whole worksheet to the client, and we just want to give the trial balance, you could print these worksheets such as just selecting the cells that you want to print, such as these. If I select these cells and then go to the File and Print, then we want to print just the selected portion, and it'll pick up the selected portion, and we could adjust the orientation to be landscape, and now we've got those two on one page, and we can print it then to a Qt PDF printer possibly, which is a free downloadable option that will allow you to just print the to a PDF file, and then it'll save just what we want. And then we might want to save just this trial balance, so we can actually hide these cells. Right click and hide, and say, hey, you want to get to this trial balance is our end result, and say File, Print, and then again print just the selection of that trial balance to, say, the Qt PDF printer. And then you could say, you got to enter those journal entries, and at the end of the day you should get to this trial balance. And if you don't, if you match these up and it doesn't compare, then let us know, and we'll take a look at entering the trial balance information next time. So I'm going to unhide these. So if we're going to enter this information then manually, that's what we'll do. And we'll do that next time. We'll actually go through here and enter all the adjusting ones into the system, and then we'll go back and compare them to our adjusted trial balance and see if we entered them correctly. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.